Well, welcome to another chat with Tim. A month or so ago, we did a chat where I responded to an email where a person asked a question. And we just got permission to do that. And we thought we would try it to see if it would be helpful because it was a question that many people experience and ask about in their recovery journey. And so today I want to respond to another email that we received with a question. And again, I just want to say up front that part of this is a challenge to me because if I was meeting with the person in person, I would explore what they shared with me to make sure I understood it, to really understand their trauma and then all their maladaptations and how those maladaptations were affecting them in adult life, their deepest wounds. That would be my goal. But when I'm just responding to an email where I can't do that exploration work, then I have to make some assumptions. And I'm hoping that the assumptions that I make are accurate. And then I want to give some insights to people that will just help them in understanding themselves, their situation, and in moving forward. So let me read the letter that I want to respond to today. Dear Tim, I grew up as the youngest of three in a family that carried a lot of tension and unresolved pain. After my father left, my mother's feelings toward me changed, and I became the focus of her frustrations. Small things could set her off, and I learned early that my needs did not matter. If I wanted something, I was told no. If I hesitated, I was forced to push through it. I felt that like my only job in life was to keep the peace. My siblings also struggled, and some of their anger ended up directed at me. When I tried to speak up, I was often blamed or ignored. Even extended family members I longed to be close to would sometimes pull away or criticize me. Over time, I truly believed I was unworthy, and I felt relieved that my father was gone because I assumed I would only disappoint him. As I got older, I started turning these feelings inward. I learned to shut down emotionally. I focused completely on my mother, trying to soothe her, protect her, and make her happy. I avoided forming bonds with others because I felt disconnected from myself and unsure of my value. In adulthood, I found myself repeating patterns of choosing unsafe partners and ignoring red flags. I stayed quiet in situations where I should have protected myself. A part of me did not care what happened to me, and another part still felt responsible for managing other people's emotions. I believe change is possible, but I feel unsure around kindness, and I often struggle with self-worth. My question is this: is it true that so much of what we do in life comes from our need to preserve our bond with our mothers? So before I get to that question, let me just say a couple things. First of all, some really good self-awareness here. But let me just highlight the issues that have been identified and kind of add a few things. So mom made this person the scapegoat. So there was a lot of tension in the family when mom and dad were together. And this girl probably picked it up and felt quite unsafe. Then dad leaves, mom makes her the scapegoat, which just adds to you're the problem, you're not good enough. Then mom set very unrealistic boundaries. So if you said no, you were pushed to do it. And so I would suspect that as an adult, you're going to have some boundary issues and some authority issues. Then shame. You can just see how much you've recognized shame in your life, that you've never felt worthy, that you were kind of glad dad left because he would have been disappointed in you. Everybody blamed you for stuff. And so shame is just a massive core issue that came out of all of this stuff for you. But then you have some very unrelenting standards for yourself that you expect almost perfection of yourself. And if you don't, then you get down on yourself. Part of mom making you the scapegoat to me is that you became used to being blamed. You became used to being misunderstood. Lack of justice was part of your world, and that probably triggers you today. but you're used to partners mistreating you. You're used to not being respected. And so you ignore a lot of the red flags. But the way this young girl coped with being the scapegoat was to try to disprove it by becoming codependent, by becoming a fawner. I will do whatever you want. I will take care of all of your needs. I will please you. I will suppress my needs. I will suppress my emotions. I will become smaller and make you bigger. And that becomes a major theme for them, is that their shame led them to codependency, to fawning. I think another piece that came out of all of the shame stuff, being blamed, being the scapegoat, is they never felt like they belonged or fit in because they never were able to connect. They were constantly being criticized. And so there's this very much a sense of aloneness. And even when they're with people or trying to get into a relationship, they're attracted to emotionally unavailable people who are eventually going to criticize them, and they never feel truly connected. I think it's also important to realize is that the fawning was not just to disprove that you're a bad person. The codependency and fawning, it was a way to get some validation. It was a way to try to feel the emptiness inside, to try to get your needs met, to try to get some love. It was your way of basically trying to get what your heart has always longed for. I think you also saw very clearly that you disconnected from yourself. So you didn't have connection with others. And so you concluded you were a problem, so I don't even like me. And you disconnected from self. And then you chose unsafe partners, emotionally unavailable people that would basically end up treating you kind of like you were treated growing up. So those to me are significant issues that you've gained a lot of insight into. The shame, the lack of connection, the codependency to me are just core issues that really need healing, need to be looked at. But let me come to your question, which is it true that so much of what we do in life comes from our need to preserve our bond with our mothers? And I would say there's definitely some truth to this, but it's not the whole story. The shame, the codependency, all of these other things are part of the story that come out of the trauma. The key thing is to see is that when we come to complex trauma is relationship trauma basically, and most complex trauma comes from intimate relationships. It comes from primarily the two most intimate relationships we have at the beginning of life, mom and dad, then our siblings, then our extended family. All of those are intimate relationships that then affect us. And so mom tends to be right in the center of these intimate relationships. So we often think that this is just about mom. We need to see that mom, because of how we're wired and how we need connection, is part of the trauma. So let me kind of give a bigger context here. One of the things that I think is so important to realize is a child who's neglected and abused by mom and dad, or just one of them, they're not able to be honest about that. Because if they're honest that mom or dad are either narcissistic, not healthy, cruel, all of those things, then to them, that means they're all alone in the world. That means they have nobody. And that's just too overwhelming. So what the brain does to protect them is help them go to a denial state where they go to mom and dad must be good. Mom and dad are wonderful because I can't face the truth. It'd be too painful, too much. I couldn't handle it if I was able to look honestly at mom and dad. And so part of what happens with that is there's almost a self-gaslighting that I ignore what my gut is telling me about mom and dad. I ignore my observations and perceptions of mom and dad because they're just too painful. And so I talk myself out of them. I try to make mom and dad into something that they're actually not. The second thing I want you to realize is when you have a parent that makes a child a scapegoat, often what is happening is they have their own trauma, they have their own unresolved wounds, their own unresolved pain, but it was and so much shame that they just can't look at themselves because that would just prove that they are a failure. And so they tend to blame somebody else for what's going on inside. And part of it is true that there are others that should be blamed, but they can't look at themselves honestly. And so when they get to a position of authority, it gets really easy just to blame everybody else and not look at themselves. And that's why they make a child a scapegoat. It's not because there's any facts to it, it's because they can't look at themselves. But there's a third component here that is so important to understand, and that is when you have a parent who is making you the scapegoat, they're being abusive. They're accusing you of stuff, blaming you of stuff, punishing you for stuff. It's a very abusive environment, verbally, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. What happens with that, though, is if they're the only person in your life that you need them to survive, then you need to connect to them. And so what makes that even more difficult is they're not usually 100% bad all the time. It's some days they're good, some days they're bad. Part of the day they're good, part of the day they're bad. And what happens in the child is, okay, mama's really angry at me right now and punishing me, but she'll be in a good mood later and then I can connect with her. And when I can finally connect with her, she's so sorry. We have such a good time. It's so wonderful. It's almost like a drug high. So if I can just endure this low, this hard time, the reward will come. And that becomes a trauma bond. So now I put up with, I tolerate, I rationalize all the bad stuff. Mom's having a bad day, mom doesn't have a husband, all of those things. And I idolize that mom's going to connect with me and mom's going to validate me and say nice things about me. And so you keep chasing those few crumbs of love. Then there's a fourth thing. I think that the mother bond is actually the first bond for a child. You were in the mother's womb for 9 months. The first person you basically see and have hold you, you breastfeed with them. There is a connection. They are the source of your life, and you become very attuned to them. You became attuned to them in the womb through your vagus nerve, and then they're your parent. You naturally look up to them. You naturally want to please them. You naturally want to connect with them. And so there's a strong drive to form a bond with this parent, to get the validation of this parent, to get the love of this parent. It's just born into every person. But then there's a fifth thing, and now we're going to get into some cultural stuff, and that is that women are kind of looked at as the ones who need to take care of everybody, the ones that need to suppress their own needs and emotions and just be there for everybody else. And if they aren't, then they're accused of being selfish. Then they're accused of not being very loving. So there's a very much this cultural expectation of women to be codependent, and that is often trained into daughters. And moms can do that because they were raised with that same cultural expectation. But then it can go farther, especially if there's only one parent, is that parent, if they don't have somebody else in their life, their same age, their same maturity, that they can talk to, that they can debrief with, that they can talk about problems with, they often begin to go to a child. And the child begins to feel they need to be a parent to their parent. They need to take care of their parent's needs. They feel sorry for their parent. And the roles begin to get reversed. And then if they get validated for that, that just reinforces that that was the right thing to do, that they should continue to parent their parent. And so mom now almost becomes this needy child that they have to protect, that they have to care for. And then let me add a couple other cultural components, and that's we have this thing called Mother's Day. And Mother's Day presents moms as these sweet, kind, selfless beings who are to be honored, that we're supposed to have a close relationship with and adore. That moms are these people that take care of everybody, and we should aspire to be close to them, to praise them, to thank them. And so there's a pressure that we should have this special relationship with mom. And then just a couple other things. I think some mothers who've had a scapegoat child, when the child grows up, if the mom hasn't dealt with her own issues, she at times desires a relationship with this child, to connect with this child, and the child goes, oh, good, mom wants to connect with me. But then they connect and they find out that mom's still looking for a scapegoat. Mom's still looking for a punching bag. Mom's still looking for somebody to dump all her pain on and make it their problem. And so it's not a desire for true connection, a healthy connection. It's desire for a connection which feels good, but then it's to be abused again. And then the flip side, many daughters, when they get older, keep hoping that they can change their mom or that their mom is going to change. And they keep hoping they can connect with her, and that mom will finally be proud of them, will validate them, will recognize all their positive qualities. So they keep going to mom, longing to connect with mom, longing for things to be different. And that happens so often. So, yes, much of trauma in some people's lives comes from the mother wound, the lack of connection with the mother, the role the mother played in a child's life. What happens for many of them is they go into adult life, and without realizing it from a subconscious place, they're actually, if you look at your adult relationships, you're actually still looking for relationships that are like your mom relationship, where that person you can change. That person will validate you. That person will meet your needs. You're still trying to solve your mother wound. So hopefully that helps. But moving forward, sadly, what many do is put a lot of effort into trying to fix their mom, change their mom, put band-aids on their relationship, keep giving in to their mom just to have some relationship and hope that maybe it'll be better. None of that usually works. You have to start by working on your own wounds, to work on the shame, the codependency, finding healthy connection with safe people. As you begin to deal with those deep wounds and find healing, what you will find is it will change the way you look at your mom, the boundaries you set with your mom, how you treat your mom. That might result in your mom changing. It might not. That relationship may never heal, but it won't be as important to you because you will have healed. And what I would really encourage for people when they begin to understand their mother wounds is don't focus on that primarily. Focus on all of the core issues that happened in you as a result of the mother relationship. Find a program like our LIFT program that's going to help you understand the ramifications, all of the damage that came out of that mother wound, so that you can heal that, so that you can begin to grow and develop healthy relationships. That, to me, will be the greatest blessing for you. So thank you again. If it was helpful, please like, subscribe, share, comment. We really appreciate it. Until next time, have a great day.